Okay, so I'm going to be demonstrating how we are going to take our colored pencil practice and we're going to apply that practice in executing a drawing of something that is completely your choice. It's a good idea to choose something with a good deal of color. I kind of chose this because it had some primaries in there, but there's also some inclusions of like some darker tones in the yellows here and stuff, some kind of mulberry type colors, some violets, things of that nature. So I felt like this would be a pretty good exercise. Now, normally in my drawing courses, I wouldn't give you the luxury of tracing imagery over, but because this is really more about color and working with color and value, I'm going to allow you to do some kind of a transfer to get this imagery over to your good sketchbook paper. And a couple of ways you can do that is that you could take one page and you could tape them together and put it in like a lit window so that you can see the imagery through, and then take a pencil, just a regular graphite pencil, and you want to very lightly trace the contours on there. You don't want a lot of graphite on there. Or you can do it the way that I'm going to be doing it now. I kind of know that my fly, just an image that I picked out of a magazine, is roughly in that area. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking just a graphite drawing pencil and I'm applying a good deal of graphite to the back of this. So I'm kind of making a transfer page, right? If you're going to do it this way, you want a good deal of graphite on the surface, or rather back of this. And I just photocopied something out of a magazine because I probably couldn't do this if I had like a glossy, right? It would also be very difficult if I had taken like an image out of a magazine that had printing on both sides, excuse me, and tried to look at that maybe in a light box or in a window and transfer the contours that way. So however you need to get this transferred over, whatever it takes. And if you feel like you can draw the imagery, go for it. That'd be ideal. I used to have students do it that way, but it made the project go a lot longer. So what I do after this is I usually take like just a paper towel and I rub that graphite in so I can get it all over the place. So I can get it like in the areas even where I don't have maybe any graphite. I want enough on there that I can transfer pretty well. I'm not worried about my hands, so I'm just going to use that. So then I'm going to go ahead and take my original here and I'm just going to put some masking tape on there. And just kind of loosely tape that into my sketchbook. What I'll do now at this point is go ahead and trace over my contours, my important contours. I don't think I need probably everything, but I'm going to transfer what I feel like I do need. Sometimes it's a good idea to do this like with a colored pencil so that you can see where you've already traced. So I think I will do that with like this red here. And I'm just going to kind of start with the wing here. I'm just going to do like the major contours. And I'm not pushing super hard because I don't want to crush my paper. And I don't want a lot of graphite on there either. I just want a faint amount. Like, it's kind of hard probably for you to see that, but if I bring it up closer to the camera, I think you can see that it's pretty light. If I keep it nice and light, I don't have to worry about graphite becoming such a problem with like contaminating the color, the colored pencil, because that's definitely an issue. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and trace that in. I'll just trace this part of the body here, this little part of the body here. I'm just going to kind of do contours around here because I feel like I could probably get the information in there. I don't need all this. But you trace as much as you feel like you need to get the information on there. Okay, I think I'll go ahead and add the eye in there. That's going to be helpful to me, and whatever this business is on the front of the fly. I'll probably go ahead and just trace in this spot too. Get some of the body here. It's a good idea to check underneath and see, like, is it transferring okay? You don't want to have to go to all this work and be like, oh no, it didn't transfer very well. Right now, again, pretty light, but it's going to work out just fine for me, I think. Now, the best method for executing colored pencil and working with color, not coloring necessarily, but manipulating the value of color, which basically is like the intensity of the color, like how dark or how light the color is. We want to start with yellow and then work our way to the darkest spectrum. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to leave it off to the side. I'm going to bring this up real close so that you can kind of see how light that is, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start sort of evaluating, like, where do I need to start, right? I've got a couple of different yellows here because I felt like that's kind of what I saw here. I saw some brighter yellows, and then I kind of have this like orangey Spanish orange kind of yellow. It's kind of a yellow orange. And I felt like that would work for some areas as well, but I'm going to layer them together. Any place that I have a really dark value, like black, I'm going to try to lay down all my primary colors so that when they build up, they can create a more rich black. Later, I'll probably come back in and do a little bit of black over those areas. And I don't have a lot of black on my composition. You know, most of the areas that are dark are kind of in here. But I'm just going to work on one little section here. I don't want to do like a super long video. I want you to have plenty of time to work. But I want to give you a good idea about how to get started, right? So I'm kind of looking at this little part of the body here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by layering in my yellows all up in here. I'm going to do my best to try to avoid these little hairy spots in here because you can't really like lay white over the top, right, of colored pencil. So I'm just going to kind of lightly build that up. Less is more in terms of pressure here. Like, I'm all about smaller marks building up to make really smooth and consistent color. Think about the time that you have this week on this too. Like, you don't want to choose something that's going to be so complicated that it's going to take you forever to complete. Like what I'm doing here, just isolating the one image is going to be fine. I'm not even going to worry about the negative space in the background and stuff. I'm just going to worry about getting that fly to look as realistic as I can. So I'm just going to kind of start working, kind of following what I see over here. I always struggle just a bit with the yellow because it's hard for me to see when I'm building it up. But once you've laid down a pretty good foundation of it, and you start working with darker colors, it all kind of starts to fall together. Again, you can see that I'm like holding my pencil way back at the back because I don't want to put a lot of pressure on there and crush my paper. I just want really light pressure and build it up slow. Trying to keep it lighter through here so that I can keep these little light guys over here. Okay, so kind of evaluating what I see in this spot here, where it's light, kind of a lighter yellow, but then I have these like darker yellow ridges and stuff in here. That's what I'm going to use this darker yellow for, but I'm probably going to want to go in there with a little bit of red too. So I've got a red. So kind of think about your secondaries, right? There's a bit of orangey in there. I want to try to develop an orange if I can, but I can use an orange as well. I've also got this mulberry color that I think is going to work pretty well for some of the areas up in here. So I'm just going to kind of start by looking at what I have. And I'm going to build up some darker yellows and try to create like the texture of those ridges kind of as I'm seeing it. I like to sharpen my colored pencils with an X-Acto knife, so I have a long pencil, or lead rather, So I don't like how when you sharpen them with a traditional hand sharpener, they seem to get a little bit short, run out of lead quicker. Looks like there's some like texture up in here too, so we'll kind of drop some of that in here. Little bit of darkness happening over in here, but not a whole lot. It's going to kind of bring back and come back into this brighter yellow here. Just kind of bring some of that back out. I like to blend one, blend the other with, and start adding together. So I'm going to use my blue now to kind of draw these out. I'm going to do my best to create that texture. I'm not going to be able to get it perfect, so just knowing that, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm just going to try to emulate those weird hair things. Looks like there's one kind of coming up this way, so I'm going to kind of do something like that. Maybe a little bit longer. Trying to be pretty cautious about how and where I do these things because there really is no erasing with colored pencil. Okay. I think what I'll do now is come in with a little bit of red and I'll start kind of building up around here. But as I'm doing that, I'm going to be mindful about leaving some, leaving a little bit of white next to my blue. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and get this a little bit sharper. So I want to be able to get in there. Going to kind of outline it, and then what I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit of red next to it. Get a little bit kind of moving up and away from here as well. I want to try not to invade the areas where I see a lot of yellow. If you're a messy drawer or worker, you may want to get like a piece of paper and use that to kind of cover up some of your work surface. Like if you finish up a little spot or whatever and you're worried about messing it up by smudging or something. I do that quite a bit. There's probably a few more of these in here than I've drawn, so I'm just gonna like add a few more. One there. It's not a bad idea to test your colors like off in the margins to see if mixing a couple of different colors together are gonna give you what you want or give you something close to what you're looking for. Like a lot of times I'll mix a couple of colors and then I'll put my piece next to it and be like, okay, well, how close am I, right? And that helps me to understand kind of how I'm going here. It looks like this. There's a weird little yellow kind of thing going there, so I'm just going to shade some red around that and leave just a touch of yellow right there. Same thing down here, but I'm going to have to go in and probably add a lot more vibrant yellow in those areas. I just kind of see some like little marking over here with that red, just a touch, kind of like some stippling kind of things going on. I'm gonna go ahead and use a little bit of mulberry in here as well. Maybe start that around the little hairs or whatever, because it looks a little bit darker in those spots. Just deepen that to some degree. I'll probably also use some blues to deepen it. If I wasn't confident about that, I certainly would try that off in the margin though. I encourage you to post several progress photos and flip this week. Just kind of show people where you're at and how it's going, right? I'd be real interested in seeing how everyone's progressing on a project like this. It's a little bit longer as such. I'm going with just a little bit of blue just to deepen it up more. Try to get it darker. Kind of want a darker violet happening in there. I really feel like that's getting me where I want to be. Come back with that bright yellow. Get this super bright, because I see that much brighter than what I have. See that thing here too. Okay, so I would kind of start to move on to other areas, although I really feel like I can get this area a lot darker to try to get it closer to what I have here. And again, it's really helpful to do stuff like this, like, you know, how close am I here, really? Might bring that up a little bit closer so you can kind of see what I've done in detail. Just kind of building those colors up. And then as I'm feeling pretty confident about this, I'm going to remember how I did that, because as I start to move into areas like this and areas like this, I'm going to want to replicate that so that I have good unity, right? So this is essentially what's happening this week. So very much looking forward to seeing what you all come up with on this. Email me with questions. Do some flip posts early in the week and show us, you know, what your progress is. Set aside, you know, 20, 30 minutes each day to do this kind of thing. Really kind of get your head in that Zen mode and just allow yourself to really focus and think about value and color, and analyzing what you're looking at there. So, all right, cool. Best of luck this week. I'm looking forward to visiting with any of you tomorrow that want to come to the optional Zoom meeting.